Today, we are doing a deep dive on an album that's done something pretty rare for extreme metal. It's jumped right out of the underground, straight into the wider cultural conversation. So our mission here is to really dig into the source material around Blackbraid-III. It's the third album from Blackbraid, and figure out how they pulled off this, unprecedented success. Because, Blackbraid is melodic black metal through and through. But the thing that caught everyone's eye, even the New York Times,
yeah, that was big,
is how they weave in Native American themes, the mythology, the spirit. It's all there. And the consensus is they do it authentically.
Right. No tired tropes, no cliches. That's what the sources keep pointing out.
Exactly. It gives the music this, majesty, an epic feel.
And what's really wild is just how fast it all happened. The sources describe Blackbraid's rise as preternatural, almost out of nowhere. The founder, Shagasowa, that's John Krieger, suddenly had this project getting attention way outside the usual metal crowd, after those big features.
Yeah.
So connecting that to the bigger picture, the hype for Blackbraid-III was just massive, huge expectations. So our goal really is to see if this album lives up to that. Is it just a flash in the pan, or does it actually validate all that sudden fame?
I like that framing. High stakes. Let's maybe start with the evolution, because you kind of need the context of the first two albums to get third.
Good idea.
So the debut, Blackbraid-I, that was 2022. It felt raw, really energetic, lots of fury. It definitely set out a unique identity right away.
Yeah, it had that raw energy, and you could hear that being refined by the time Blackbraid-II came out in 2023.
Yeah.
Felt much more consistent, maybe more elaborate.
Yeah.
It was definitely leaning into a more epic, kind of natural sound. Scale over raw fury, maybe.
Showed growth. But maybe, like you said, the balance wasn't quite there yet.
Exactly.
Which brings us to Blackbraid-III. And this seems to be its big achievement, right? Finding that balance. Pretty much everyone agrees, based on our sources, that this is their best album yet.
And the consensus is strong on that.
It manages to be somehow both wildly epic and deeply intimate, which is tricky.
Very tricky. It merges the best parts of the first two, it feels like.
Successfully.
And that leads straight into something one reviewer called the Goldilocks effect.
Ah, okay.
The length. This new one is 52 minutes. The debut felt a bit short, almost like an EP maybe.
Yeah, you remember that feeling.
And then 2 was, well, maybe a bit much, over an hour, some parts kind of dragged.
Okay.
So the feeling now is that a third just sits right.
Wow.
Structurally, lengthwise, it feels balanced, which is huge when you're trying to meet those kinds of expectations.
That makes sense. A good length is crucial. So, okay, the pacing works. Let's talk sound. What does this 52 minutes actually sound like?
It's definitely melodic black metal, no question. But one thing the sources really stress is that it's not, quote, noodly atmo black with more fuzz than riffs.
Important distinction.
Yeah, they say this thing absolutely rips with memorable earworms. So actual songs, actual riffs, you remember.
Right.
And that core sound, that memorable aggression, it's all about the guitars. That's the driving force. We're talking mostly fast, tremolo-picked melodic riffs. Gives it that intensity.
Right.
The style even got compared specifically to Spectral Wound, their intensity, their melodic drive.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, that tells you immediately you're dealing with some high-level, aggressive black metal songwriting here.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me and maybe signals something more or different. That opening track, it has these unexpected octave-shifted chords, a technical thing, right? But it gives the main riff this really distinct, almost modern feel.
Yeah, I saw that mentioned.
The reviewer actually said it felt like, and this is a direct quote, if Gojira wrote a black metal riff.
Whoa. Gojira.
Yeah, drawing a line straight to that kind of complex, super precise octave stuff Gojira does now, that's a massive comparison in black metal circles. Tradition's usually king,
Absolutely. That suggests a very precise approach, maybe not what you'd always expect. Like, the sound design is really considered. So even though the vibe is raw and cold, that kind of riffing, it shows real compositional control. It says, yeah, the aesthetic is black metal, but the technical toolkit they're using is maybe wider, more focused than a lot of bands in the genre.
But hang on, if they're bringing in that modern, precise, almost Gojira-like element, does it lose any of that raw, frosty black metal feel? Does it sound too clean? Is that a concern in the sources.
Not really, no. The consensus seems to be they nail the balance. The production is clearer than before, which lets those precise bits stand out.
Okay.
But it still has enough grit, enough speed to feel firmly rooted in black metal. They use that technical skill to boost the atmosphere, not like replace it.
Gotcha. So it enhances, doesn't detract.
Exactly, and that clarity helps the other instruments too. The sources point out the drumming especially. It gets highlighted as being especially great.
Right, I read that. More active than usual black metal drumming.
Yeah, delivering complex fills, shifts.
Right.
But it's still precise enough that it doesn't distract you from the main melodies, the riffs.
So impressive, but it serves the song.
Totally. Technically skilled, but always musical.
And the vocals, what's the word there?
Powerful. Described as a beastly rasp. Kind of stays in that mid-range snarl.
Sounds fitting.
Yeah, universally praised as, great visceral. There is maybe one tiny critique.
Oh,
Just that a little more variety in the vocal delivery might have been welcome. Just a minor point, though.
okay. But that raises a question, maybe. If the album is going for that intimate, vulnerable feel sometimes, does the kind of uniform vocal style limit that?
That's a fair question, but I think the sources suggest the instruments do the heavy lifting emotionally in those parts.
Oh, okay.
The vocals provide the aggression, the texture, but the atmosphere, the acoustics, the themes themselves, that's where the vulnerability comes through.
Right, right. Which leads us nicely into the atmosphere and themes,
Mm-hmm.
because this is where Blackbraid really stands out. Yeah.
Absolutely. This is their unique fingerprint. That sound is constantly fleshed out with the Native American instruments and aesthetics. That's what grounds it all.
And you see that most clearly in the interlude, the short acoustic tracks.
Mm-hmm.
The notes say they add a lot of atmosphere and are directly inspired by Native American music.
And there's a cool contrast between two of them specifically. You've got The Earth is Weeping,
Yeah.
which is really subdued, all acoustic with nature sounds layered in, just a moment of calm.
Nice.
But then you get Traversing the Forest at Dusk, and that one's full of electric shredding, almost like Death's Voice of the Soul territory with those clean, shreddy tones.
Wow, quite the range just in the interludes. Now, you mentioned a minor critique about flow with these.
Yeah, just a small thing. Someone suggested the flow might be even smoother if the interludes kind of blended into the main tracks more, instead of being hard stops.
Oh, okay, I can see that.
But honestly, it's minor, and you could argue they work because they're breaks, like palate cleansers almost. They provide that cultural anchor, stop the main black metal tracks from just becoming relentless, lets you reset before the next assault.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And judging by the main tracks, you probably need that reset. The diversity in the full song sounds like a big step up.
Definitely. A real triumphant shift in songwriting quality, consistency. The structures feel less drawn out than maybe on 2.
Mm-hmm.
The tempos aren't always extreme either way, not just nonstop blasting or super slow doom. There's more of these uniform marches, as one source put it. Gives it that epic flair everyone's talking about. They've mastered the dynamic mid-tempo.
Okay, let's get specific. Give us some examples of this diversity. The opener, War Drums at Dawn on the Day of My Death. That sounds pretty aggressive.
Oh yeah, sets the tone. Pure fury right out of the gate.
Okay.
Well, then look at a track like God of Black Blood, marked as a tight winner. It starts off slower, doomier, rides this low, kind of foreboding riff.
Okay, setting a mood.
Exactly. You settle into this heavy, almost monolithic feel, and then bam, a blisteringly fast, shrill guitar riff just cuts through everything,
Wow.
and it announces this incredible solo, shifts the whole mood instantly. That contrast between the heavy doom rhythm and that shredding lead, super compelling stuff.
Nice. Okay, what else? You mentioned intimacy earlier.
Right. The dying breath of a sacred stag. That one really shows the shift towards that more intimate style. Clear moments of real emotion, real vulnerability, moves away from just pure aggression.
Interesting.
And what's kind of cool or amusing about that track, its structure is apparently very similar to Bathory's classic epic, A Fine Day to Die.
No way. And they covered Bathory on the last album, right?
Exactly. They covered Bathory on too. So it shows they're not just like name-dropping influences. They're
Yeah.
really internalizing the structures of the genre's great epics and making them their own.
That shows real respect and
Uh-huh.
skill, too.
Mm.
Okay, so lots of strong tracks, but are there standouts, like the absolute highlights?
Yeah, the sources definitely point to the end of the album for the real jewels in the crown, let's say.
Okay.
Specifically, Tears of the Dawn and the closer. The big one, 9 minutes. And he became the burning stars.
9 minutes. That sounds epic just by length.
It absolutely is. Total masterclass. It's epic, it's melodic, It directly brings to mind that sweeping, nature-inspired grandeur you get from bands like Moon Sorrow or a Galak,
High praise
for
indeed.
sure. And the sources are pretty much unanimous here. This closer reaches, quote, levels of glory reserved for immortal sons of northern darkness.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
about as high as praise gets in black metal.
Right. So yeah, they definitely lived up to the hype, according to reviews. That track seals the deal.
Incredible. Now, the album doesn't technically end there, right? There's a cover?
Correct. It finishes with a cover of Lord Belial's Fleshbound.
And what's the take on that?
Well, tellingly, one reviewer actually preferred Blackbraid-'s version to the original.
Really?
Said the production was clearer on Blackbraid-'s version, gave it more depth, which kind of just underlines the overall quality of the sound engineering on the third. They took a raw classic, polished it just enough, but kept the spirit.
Nice touch. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Synthesizing everything. Blackbraid-III isn't just another album. It's a statement.
Yeah, definitely feels that way. A real fine-tuning of their sound. It's defined by that blend, right? The molten chugging, precise rhythms, and that totally unique atmosphere from the Native American element.
It's the sound of a band hitting its stride, perfecting its craft.
Totally. And ultimately, it's the songwriting. That's what holds the whole ambitious thing together. It's strong all the way through. They managed that tricky transition, underground buzz to genuine cultural crossover without losing the core brutality or the identity of the genre. That's impressive.
It really is. Which brings us to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on after this deep dive. Think about this. We have a band playing extreme black metal with very specific, non-mainstream themes rooted in Native American culture. And they're getting major press, New York Times level press.
Mm-hmm.
What does that huge crossover success tell us? About how accessible these formerly underground genres are becoming now, about how they're being maybe normalized in the wider media landscape.
It's a great question.
Yeah, like how close are we to seeing black metal just become another texture, another flavor in the big popular music conversation? And if that happens, what does that even mean for the future of the genre itself? Something to think about.